Hold open your eyelids and lean over the eye wash station, letting the clean water hit both eyes at once. As it does, look up, down, left, and right. This will flush out the dangerous chemicals before they cause serious damage. Now, some chemicals are strong enough to blind you, even if you wash most of them out. To be sure, keep rinsing for at least 15 minutes. By that time, your eyes should be clear, saving you from going blind. The balloon is pushed into your nose and quickly inflated while you hold your breath. This is done if the small bones in your sinuses are out of place. As it expands, it pushes against the bones, causing them to click back into the right position. As they move, the balloon suddenly expands into your throat. Next, it's popped by a toothpick, allowing you to breathe again. This is done 7 more times, opening every cavity in your nose. And as the bones move, the pressure in your head is relieved, putting an end to your pain. Your ears would look like this if you lived to be 200 years old, stretched, drooping, and noticeably large. And this is because your ears never stop growing. They expand ever so slightly every year. The cartilage inside weakens over time, and gravity slowly pulls them downward, elongating their shape. And the same thing happens to your nose. It grows longer, its tip droops, and the nostrils widen, giving it a distinctly aged, exaggerated appearance. After eating thousands of coins, he had to be rushed to the hospital for an emergency surgery. The coins weighed as much as a bowling ball and made a hole in the man's stomach. The surgeons made an incision and pulled out the coins by hand and added them to a pile. But it didn't end there. More coins were stuck in his throat, and they had to stick a tube in to find them. After every coin had been removed, they closed up the man's stomach and he survived. When a snake bites you, venom squeezes through the snake's fangs and into your body. Now, depending on the snake, this could immediately start to cause nerve damage, paralysis, and sometimes even death. But if you get an IV of antivenom, the serum contains antibodies that target and bind to the poisonous toxins in the venom. This binding neutralizes the venom's toxic effects and could save your life. She cried tears of blood when she woke up from surgery. You see, she was supposed to have work done on the left eye, but the doctor had operated on the wrong one. Realizing the mistake, he pulled out a needle and injected it into the correct eye. Then he grabbed a pair of scissors, and without gloves or proper tools, he started cutting. She screamed for him to stop, but he ignored her. And when it was over, she was left with permanent damage to both eyes. Each barrel would fire at once if there was a prison riot approaching. You see, these barrels were packed with gunpowder and a single bullet. And when the trigger was pulled, sparks dropped into the chamber, igniting each one. The moment it fired, it would spray bullets in multiple directions. And in a crowded hallway, this would hit several inmates at once, putting an end to the prisoner uprising. The cables would be attached directly to the asteroid. Then the skyscraper would be built around the cables, with gravity pulling it towards the Earth. But since the asteroid is moving in orbit, it pulls the cable away from Earth. And this would actually stabilize the skyscraper, allowing it to float thousands of feet above Earth's surface. As the asteroid moved through space, the tower would slowly trace a figure-8 path above the planet. Solar panels on the top would harness energy from constant sunlight, powering the floating tower without ever touching the ground. He attached himself to 1,000 helium balloons and lifted off as it began to rain. Now, he was supposed to land in a town over 600 miles away, but the storm picked up and blew him all the way over the ocean. He called the Navy to try to tell them where he was, but he didn't know how to use his GPS. And after weeks of searching, they found only his balloons, until his body surfaced 2 months later. You would strap it to your back and stick the syringe in your arm. This would take a tiny sample of your blood and measure how much sugar was in there. A pump would then inject insulin through a second syringe, which would keep your sugar levels stable. But it ran on heavy batteries, making it difficult to carry, and it needed to be constantly checked to make sure it was injecting the right amount. Sleeping with it would be impossible, meaning it was never sold. He shoved the rod down his throat, but as he did, it ripped a 4-inch hole in his windpipe. Even though he was in severe pain, he continued the act in front of the stunned audience. But as soon as he left the stage, he collapsed. Doctors couldn't operate. Instead, he spent 5 weeks in intensive care while the wound healed naturally. And as soon as it did, he went right back to swallowing swords.